Never have I ever had sex in space. Well, hi, my name's Clayton Anderson, and I'm a retired United States astronaut. I spent 167 total days in outer space, 152 of those living on board the International Space Station in 2007. I would do 6 spacewalks during my 30-year career with NASA at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. I'm ready to play Never Have I Ever. Never have I ever seen or witnessed alien activity. I have never witnessed alien activity. Although my Russian crewmates, Oleg and Fyodor, appeared strange at times. But I can't divulge any information to you. Otherwise, I'd be violating government secrets. Never have I ever pooped or peed in my spacesuit. I have peed in my spacesuit. I've never pooped there, but I wore a MAG, NASA's maximum absorbency garment, otherwise known to you lay people as a diaper. I was in the midst of a 7-hour and 41-minute spacewalk outside of the International Space Station. We don't get to eat while we're out there, but we do get to drink water. And as a result of drinking water over 7 hours and 41 minutes, I closed my eyes, I concentrated, and I let her fly. Never have I ever questioned whether we actually landed on the moon. I have never questioned the fact that we landed on the moon. To those that disagree, all I can say is, I have pity for you. There's evidence still there. We can actually see it with satellites. We can see the remnants of what the astronauts on Apollo 11 and subsequent Apollo missions left there. The footprints that they left are still there. There's no atmosphere on the moon, so there's no wind to blow them away. There are a lot of photos available, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of data out there. All you have to do is go to nasa.gov and you'll learn everything you need to know. Never have I ever looked at the Earth from space and thought about how small we are in the grand scheme of things. I have thought that every day. 16 sunrises and sunsets every day as we orbited the Earth every 90 minutes. I would look out the windows when I had time and I would see the beauty of God's creation. And you think about, wow, the Earth is a spaceship and we're all passengers on that spaceship and we're sailing through outer space. Pretty cool feeling, pretty intimidating at times, but pretty proud that I had the opportunity to do it. Never have I ever gotten drunk in space. I have never gotten drunk in space. However, NASA says there is no alcohol on board the International Space Station. I'm not going to provide you any information here, but if you read my book, The Ordinary Spaceman, you might learn about that exact topic. Now, we didn't get drunk in space, but we certainly enjoyed each other's company. Oleg Kotov and Fyodor Yurchikhin, my 2 Russian cosmonaut crewmates, and I dined every single meal together. We enjoyed that time. We talked about family, we talked about friends, we chastised each other, we laughed, we discussed technical issues, but we had a lot of fun. Never have I ever woken up and forgotten I was in space. I have done that. During my 152 days on board the International Space Station, if I had a really good night's sleep, sometimes I'd wake up and I wasn't quite sure where I was. Now, some people will tell you that their dreams were weird in zero gravity and that they were crazy and strange and that they dreamed they were falling or they were hanging on for dear life. I never had any dreams like that. My dreams were all pretty normal. I dreamed about my wife, I dreamed about my kids, I dreamed about sports activities, I dreamed about my spacewalks. I slept really well in space. I averaged 7 hours and 20 minutes of sleep every night, which is probably more than I get on Earth. Never have I ever had sex in space like in the movies. Well, I have never had sex in space. Now, there are rumors to the effect that some have or may have had sex in space, but I have no idea as to the origin of those rumors or the truth or non-truth behind those rumors. We simply don't have any time for that. We're too busy working and doing the right thing. Never have I ever thought about staying in space and not coming back to Earth. I thought about whether or not I would have to stay longer. And you know, when I went back in 2010 for a 15-day mission with the crew of Discovery, I really wanted to stay longer. 15 days back in my old home was not long enough for me, and I could have stayed for a month or so. I don't think any of my crewmates wanted to stay that long, but they could have left me for about a month longer and I would have been happy. I would have had a great time. But after that, I would have been yearning to get back to Earth again. Never have I ever thrown up while I was in space or on Earth during a training exercise. I have thrown up on Earth during a training exercise. It was my first flight in a NASA T-38 jet. I was seated in the back seat. I was going to do what they called the zoom and boom ride. And zoom and boom ride, for me that day, turned into the whirl and hurl. After about an hour, I fought like crazy. I told myself I was never going to throw up, but in the end, I puked in a trash can at Ellington Field in the T-38 hangar. Now in space, a lot of guys puke on the first day. A lot of people do. But I was in the middeck, so I didn't have any responsibility to fly the vehicle, so I took medication. And I launched on June the 8th of 2007. I did not puke until November 7th, 2007, when I landed back at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And when I puked that day, I yacked chunks. It was pretty bad. Being an astronaut was the dream of a lifetime. I had an opportunity to represent my country, and I still do. I had an opportunity to fly in space and see our home planet from 250 miles up, an opportunity that very few people so far in life have gotten to do. I hope someday that every single person on Earth will have the opportunity to fly in space just like I did. It will give us all a different perspective on our lives, and it will give us a different perspective on our planet Earth and what we can do to preserve the wonderful opportunities we have here on the blue planet. Thanks a lot, BuzzFeed. Appreciate you having me on.